everyday superpower. We talk body language, relationships, game, everything in between. Gonna put you on some game. Gonna put you on some game. Whether you're dating or whether you are, you know, being tested later on in your relationship, because they don't stop coming. She needs to keep reassessing and analyzing where you stand and where your boundaries are as a man. We're going to talk about some very fascinating stuff. We're going to talk about testing. Some would call it testing. But generally, she has a biological mechanism, the feminine imperative, to ensure she's safe and sound around you and knows where you stand. And sometimes she might need to reassess your value, you know, in the grand scheme of things by throwing out a curveball to test your security, to test your comfort levels, and just to see where you stand psychologically at that particular moment in time. So some would say, and don't get me wrong, we're going to go into some good information. I'm going to break down three particular ways she's going to test you. So hold on, right? Or three particular areas she's going to test you on, and you're not going to be able to avoid this. So please pay attention. So some would say that being tested by a woman in this manner, being shit tested by a woman in this manner is an indicator of interest, right? So if she's doing this upon the first date, it's just to see who you are. It's, a fascination to feel out your identity and know who you are as a man, as opposed to trying to bully you. It might seem that way at first, just like, why would she try to hurt my feelings? Why would she try to make me feel insecure? Why would she laugh at that or this or the next thing? But it's because she might just want to go further with you and give it up to you, but she needs to feel secure first. She needs to know who you are first, because of course you present yourself in an aesthetic manner. You talk about what you want to talk about, but she wants to get in there and find the spectrum of belief, the spectrum of security, the spectrum of identity that resides in the darkness that you don't give up. And most of the time, consciously, she might not be thinking you're like this. Or should I, my apologies, she might not be thinking that she's doing this. It's quite simply a means of her assessing who you are as a man. It's the feminine auditing the masculine principle. And I know it's annoying, and most people get red pill rage over this sort of stuff. Like, why would she need to test me? Why can't we just be friends? Blah, 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 blah. I completely understand, but look at it from this perspective. It's actually in your benefit, and it's actually good, because given that you see these things, given that you understand these things, given that you know generally what to offer to that woman, generally you know how to be as a man, you grow into a better man yourself by understanding these tests and why not she's interested in these particular traits, and you adapt yourself as such, because it's better for not only her but for you first and foremost. When you realize that when you pass these tests, it's to your benefit and it enhances how she and the entire world sees you. You put yourself above the majority of men, and you not only have fun identifying this, but you get the result you want. It's a fast track to you getting what you want, as well as she gets what she wants, okay? So pay attention. There is three particular things she will feel out. And just before I get into that, I just want to say, if she doesn't test you as well, but still showcases a pursuit of you, that means, in my world, because like I understand an indicator of interest can come from the form of a test, but I've also been in situations where no testing has been needed, purely down to the fact that she believes in who I am and she feels that I am of value to not need to test. Like, if anything, if I failed her tests, it's gonna reflect badly on her, because she's still gonna have to continue to pursue me, given that I have what she needs through whichever manner, right? So why would you know it's a confirmation bias esque situation. Anyway, there's three particular ways she's going to test you for your, let me get this up so I ensure I've made notes here, your confidence, your options, and your security. That's what she's going to test you on. Listen again, your confidence, your options, and your security, right? She's gonna make jokes that are rooted in truth. She's gonna laugh at your haircut. She's gonna laugh at your little belly. She's going to reference other men who she finds attractive. She's gonna reference men who have got things you don't. And she will do so as an obstacle to see how you pass. You can maneuver around this obstacle with finesse, or you can react in a emotional manner, in a triggered sense, and try and break through that obstacle. Let me give you an example. I was on a date not so long back, and around this time, well, I say not so long back, it's relative, I've not needed to date for some time, so you can cast judgment as to when this was, but there was a film at the cinemas at this time. There was a movie at the cinemas with an actor, Zac Efron, known from primarily from High School Musical, but he's a grown man now. And in this film, he was depicting, I think, a wrestler, although it could be a warrior of sorts, but I think it was a wrestler. I think it was a historical document of this wrestler figure. And he looks great. He looks great. He's in fantastic shape. He's in Hollywood shape. So take that as you will. Not natural is what I'm trying to imply here. And he looks amazing. He looks better than 99% of people on planet Earth. He would do give or take the drugs anyway, right? And this film gets referenced. Have you seen this? And in response to that, to clarify what film, because he's got like a bowl cut haircut in this film, I said, "Oh, is that's the first thing my mind went to?" Because I didn't know anything other than the film. Like to this day, I just sort of said, "Oh, is that the one where he's got that haircut, that funny haircut?" And from that response, it triggered in her the parental, biologically rooted assessment mechanism that is necessary to respond to that in a manner to test out whether this was me speaking from a position of insecurity or security, right? And I'm telling you, man, when you overtly break another man down because you are projecting your insecurity upon that man, she's going to identify this, maybe outside of her conscious mind, but she will identify that you're attacking this man for a reason that doesn't seem like you should, right? I mean, what's that cliche term? The lion is not concerned with the opinions of sheep and blah de blah, right? So you as a grown man shouldn't be punching down on no one. Generally, people don't really do that, aside from your governments, aside from your authoritarian figures. But if you're on your own path, you're looking upwards. If you're wanting to do better, you're looking upwards. People attack up out of envy and jealousy, right? They don't attack down because they don't have time for the people that are now below them, and they're so secure in their pedestal that they needn't do so, generally speaking. So she hears me make a comment about his haircut in not necessarily a positive manner, but truth be told, it is a eccentric hairstyle, and that's how I identified the potential of that being the film. And so she says, "Oh yeah, Zac Efron is super hot and all this and that and that," and the energy in the statement and the bold declaration of how she finds this man sexy and stuff, these are the things you pay attention to, because it was so disjointed to our actual conversation and to our actual dating experience. It was worth making note. It was like, bloody hell, like she really made a bold statement there for some sort of reason. And that was a test to see how I would then respond to that. She was testing my confidence as a man. Is he going to try break down Zac Efron, this high status, hopefully rich, good looking man that a lot of women would love to be with? Is he going to try to break this man down? That would be a symbol of insecurity on this guy I'm dating's behalf. And I don't want to be with an insecure man because that bleeds into so many different facets of his life and what our relationship will be. But the moment you say, yeah, he does look good in there, I agree with you, he's got a right body on him. She's not going to say, oh, that's homo, because it's not fucking homo. It's a display of confidence and acceptance in a factor that most men would not verbalize because they would be uncomfortable and unconfident in doing so, right? And like we know, there is feminine within the masculine, and those who outwardly project this 100% masculinity is harboring a shadow that will come out at some point, right? So she tests the confidence. When she references other men, what they have that you don't, she's testing your confidence. And you as a man shouldn't, it could be a fake it till you make thing. You should acknowledge it, understand it, and think, I feel a little bit uncomfortable with what she's just said, but I see it for what it is. I can not only give her, a doubt of me, I can't put myself in the dirt, but I also can't elevate this man to a higher standard above us both by reacting in this particular way, because she is using this as, an indirect means of, assessing the social values of the people she acknowledges in her life, whether they are celebrities or not, right? The more men this celebrity makes insecure, the more value he has, even though they don't even know each other on a personal level. Whereas the other celebrity who isn't inspiring this envy and insecurity in men might not be perceived or held up with the same degree as value in that particular realm by that woman because she doesn't see it in the social environment around her. So she's testing you based on your confidence. You will get this. When you're initially dating, most definitely you will get this. Sometimes she won't have to probe you because you will speak so much and be so self-indulgent that you naturally just give her all your insecurities anyway in a desperate attempt to win her over and tell you everything about her, which is backwards. But if you play the mysterious game, if you hold back, if you say less than necessary, and you allow her to talk and sell herself to you and qualify herself to you, then in that regards, she's probably going to probe you a little bit just to see who you are. Why not? Why not? She doesn't want to go back to someone who might be a serial killer. It's completely fine and it's understandable. So that's some game there. That's number one. She's going to test you for your confidence, and she'll still do so 5 years down the line. Honestly, she'll break your boundaries. She'll break your walls down. She'll weaken you as a man, and then she'll still continue pushing them boundaries and try and make you insecure and not confident anymore. Then she'll leave you and break up with you, and all you can do is blame yourself. That's her nature, unfortunately, and it's for her own security, and it's to ensure that you're the best man you can be. So, don't hate the game. Moving onwards, she's going to test you for options. Oh, I bet you say that to all the girls. Oh, when was the last time you went on a date? Oh, I've seen you were on Instagram with this girl or that girl, blah, 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 blah. She's going to test you for options because it's going to allow her to perceive how you value her and how she should value herself in relation to you, right? And this isn't purely down to the fact that this is, a test a woman will run. This dynamic is the same with women as well, right? If a bunch of men want one particular woman, in the eyes of that man, she is of elevated value. It is less so, though, as the vice versa. So most men feel that they have to downplay the fact that they've been with other women, on downplay the fact that they've had experiences with women, or women want them, or they're good with women. And it's the counter opposite, because the thing is, economically speaking, if a bunch of women are interested in me and I'm dating a bunch of women, surely it's a privilege for me to be able to spend this moment with you, right? Not only am I valuing you and your time and elevating how you feel about yourself, like I'm speaking directly to your ego here and elevating you into a position of self-love through my attractive essence and how good I am with women. I'm saying Yeah, I've got all these other women, but I'm here with you, right? Because you stand out in the crowd and I'm interested to hear who you are. But yeah, most definitely. And as we continue in our relationship, I'm not going to be able to help the fact women are interested in me and pursue me because I'm a man of value and I get my head down and I work hard, and unfortunately I showcase traits that these women are attracted to. I can't help that, all right? So you're just going to have to take it or leave it. And trust me, these women aren't going to leave it. These women are going to be attracted to the light you provide, right? Whereas if you go forward and let's say, for example, you don't get women, so she probes you and says, "Oh, when was the last time you went on a date?" And you say, around 5 years ago." And she goes, "Oh yeah, yeah. Have you been in a relationship since then?" And you say no. She's gonna think, "Who is this weirdo? This weirdo gets no attention." And I'm speaking to the incels here, right? I'm not calling you weird, but I'm saying this is how you will be perceived, right? If you're unlucky with women, you don't want to highlight the fact because some might think, oh right, well she's the one. This woman I'm on a date with is the one, and she will love the fact that I haven't seen anyone and I'm a virgin and I'm going to spend my time with her and she'll get that. You would hope that would be the case. You would hope that self-preservation and that lack of vice or sin or whatever in between it could be perceived as, you think that would be to your benefit, but no, she doesn't look at it like that. She doesn't look, she wants what other people wants. She wants the products other people wants. This is marketing, right? If you market yourself and advertise your product as one of value that everybody wants and it's limited time only because it's going to sell off the shelves and there's only 5 left and so forth, people feel an urge to purchase that product. Whereas that which is on the shelf, which is tenfold, that nobody's picking up, nobody's buying, people will unconsciously believe there's a reason why nobody is buying that, because it goes contrary to the fact and reality of that which is valued, is sought after, purchased, owned, and possessed. Okay? So she's going to feel you out for options. And when you feel this out, and let's say, for example, if you are that man who hasn't had a date in 5 years, who isn't good with women, but has managed to sort himself one out, if she prompts you and says, when was your last date? All you have to say is, oh, you know what? Not too long back. Yeah, not too long back. But we don't need to talk about that, all right? This is about us, right? You don't need to give her the finite detail. She hates the detail. She wants ambiguity. She wants space to imagine and she wants to be fascinated by you. Open 20 doors when she wants you to open up the one. Let her choose which route to take, okay? Because it gets her thinking about you. It gets her interested in you, fascinated in you. And relatively speaking, 5 years might be somewhat recent compared to the man who's not had a date in 10 years or your friend who's never had a date at all. So just be mysterious about it. Answer obliquely. Yeah, she probably will catch on to that at some point and say, you never answer questions properly, blah, blah, blah. But trust me, she's not going to leave you for that. And if it's something she needs an answer for, right, that she's frustrated about, she'll ask you fair and then when it winds her up, and then just give her an answer, if needs be. By that time, you'll have established a relationship and a communication of value that it makes sense, right? So she's going to test you on your options, such as insecure men will test her on her options. You, man, who care about her body count and so forth, during the dating phases, during the dating period, you needn't bring it up. Just have fun, enjoy time with her, learn the game, have a good experience. You're there on a date with her because you find her to some degree attractive, I would hope. So just have a good time. Who cares about her past adventures and so forth? That's a position of insecurity, right? Because truth be told, as you go down the line, given that you do find this woman interesting, she will reveal herself anyway. She will tell you her past experiences, whether you like it or not. So just do that. Just do that. Moving on to the third thing she will test you on, that is your security. So this is within the camp of resources. This is emotional security. This is self-belief, ambition, understanding, however you want to apply the term security, right? So it interlinks with confidence to some extent, but she's going to ask you who you're staying with, where you're staying. When I was working, this pretty young girl joined, and I got given the position to train her up a little bit. And as we were doing so, she asked if I stayed within the area, and then she asked me, "Oh yeah, who do you live with?" That's irrelevant. That's irrelevant. Like, perhaps when it comes to how far do you work, because she has a question about getting to work on time or how long it takes me to get to work, that's one thing. But to follow it up with who I live with, that's irrelevant. That's information that she wants to know personally for her own wants and needs, right? Does he pay it for himself? Does he live with his parents? Is he living with a partner? Right? I stopped at girlfriend there because she wants to understand who you are sexually. So pay attention to these things. These are indicators of interest. And when you say, yep, I got my own place, I'm cool, I'm calm, I'm blah, 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 that's a position of security. She's going to be attracted to that, right? Not repulsed by that. When you say, oh, I'm living with my parents because I'm saving up to buy a house and blah, 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 yeah, more than likely that's better than saying you just live with your parents, but she's going to look at you and think, what, you can't do it yourself? What, you need mummy and daddy's help as a grown man to be able to do that? And even though it brings you simplicity in life, even though it brings you comfort in life, it's the reality of such, right? The lessons you learn through the trials and tribulations of establishing a path by yourself as a grown man, that outworks tenfold the fiat finance you're going to, save up to put down on your debt to the bank in due time, right? Look at the reality of such. If the mass amount of people are sold to take that particular route and do that particular route, I think you want to go the opposite direction. So I say that to say this. She's going to search you out for your security. That's it. When you turn up to the event, when you turn up to the date and you're wearing particular attire, hey, you could turn up in your Louis Vuitton trainers, you could turn up in your Gucci t-shirt, your branded stuff. You are speaking and communicating within the role of the woman here, the materialistic elements of such. I don't believe you should do this because I think that's I think you should find God as opposed to worship material and brands. I don't think you should have brand loyalty per se. I think that's a sign of weakness and submittance, and you're being pimped on by them brands. I think you look like a hoe, right? So that's a bit of food for thought for you. But she will perceive those brands as to how those brands have been marketed into the world, and that's something of expense, of luxury, and she will perceive you as such. But she will perceive you of a higher value, given that the clothing you wear doesn't hold the branding and the logos, but actually, quite frankly, aligns with her pattern recognition of a man with value. So she's looking at you for security. The businessman has security. The CEO has security. The artiste of a higher standard that she's come across in her life has security. And these individuals wear clothing that aren't necessarily branded, but are of high quality, are of a particular style, fashion, a long sleeve shirt as opposed to a t-shirt, dress pants as opposed to jeans, as opposed to shorts, Chelsea boots and, the tailored footwear that a businessman would wear, that a entrepreneur would wear, as opposed to the expensive trainers that a young antisocial man would wear. I'm a fan of trainers. I like trainers, but the moment, you know what I mean? I like trainers, and good trainers aren't cheap. If you want to get a flashy pair of trainers, it's not cheap. But you go walk into the sports store and have a look at where them trainers are being sold, and you have a look at the market of the people. You're going to be associated with that market of people. Whereas if you spent half of that amount and went to, a place where you can get suited and booted, have a look at the clientele there. You want to be elevated upon onto the frequency of a man with security if you want her pass her tests a little easier, right? But that's game for a different conversation, yeah? Different conversation. And I'm not saying you have to be someone you're not, right? This is completely irrelevant to that, right? So she wants to find out your security. She wants to see where you work, what your job is that a dead end job or not? Of course. And this is the unfortunate reality, because I didn't go through higher education. I don't have qualifications. I wasn't given the leadership to pursue a path within a career that is societally perceived as high value. So there's going to be a disconnect as to how you're perceived compared to the lawyer, compared to the doctor, compared to, the person working in these higher echelons of these corporate entities. But if that's not you, that's not you. You can still ensure that you do the right thing. And the fact that you've established security through independence as opposed to working within a company that isn't yours, that you don't own, that elevates you and showcases a degree of characteristic and, power that other man doesn't possess. So it's all dynamic. It's all about what you know and what you don't know, and what you've applied and what you haven't applied. Pay attention. So to re-clarify, she's going to test you on your confidence. She's going to test you on your options. She's going to test you on your security. That's some good game. You got to click like and subscribe. Peace.